Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of boards, recorder of videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to another DM's Guild review, my written and video review series where I take a look at the adventures and supplemental material at the Dungeon Masters Guild website. With this video, I'll be reviewing the Player Supplement Strixhaven Student Prospectus Lorehold, designed by StickyHunter, aka Steph Farrow, and Kor-Artificer, aka Frederic Walker, for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. A review copy has been provided for the purposes of this review. If you enjoy my content, consider using my affiliate links for your online shopping and supporting me via patreon.com/roguewatson. It has been a hot minute since I reviewed Strixhaven Curriculum of Chaos. That is not the fault of this product, however. I think this came out much more timely. It's my review that took forever. If anything is a Curriculum of Chaos, it is the backlog of my review submissions. This is a player-focused supplement that acts as kind of a expansion to Strixhaven, which was itself a semi-player focused supplement, although really added a lot of DM content to it. Added a whole adventure that took place over, I believe, 4 years. And Strixhaven was it's based on the Magic the Gathering IP, which is a magical school, although unlike the big elephant in the room magic school of Harry Potter, this is a university, so it's more higher learning, it's more college shenanigans, I guess, but still a lot of cool magical stuff going on. Ultimately, I was pretty mixed on my review, I think, for the most part. I liked a lot of stuff about it, and I didn't like other things. And I did think it was weird that it didn't actually add any new subclasses, which is something that's always one of the more exciting things we get with a lot of these player-focused content. And in fact, didn't even get that many like spells or things either. So that was partly, I think, what my mixed review was about. This one does give us a ton of new content, including a subclass and some spells. In fact, it gives us one new race, one new subclass, obviously for the wizard, 5 spells, 3 feats, 2 backgrounds, 3 magic items, 4 new courses, which specifically Strixhaven added a little course mechanic where you could then take exams. I think this one actually does it a lot better and has more interesting courses to take. Plus 1 off-campus excursion, so I guess technically 5. 3 new extracurricular activities, and 6 new NPCs. That's a lot of content packed into what is basically like a 25-page supplement, which also features, I believe, original artwork by the designer, which I am always insanely green with envy and jealousy about. I don't think it is fair to the rest of us mere mortals that people can be talented designers, writers, and artists. That is just, stop it. Like, you need to spread that love out a little bit more. My 2 biggest complaints about this supplement, unfortunately, are right at the beginning, so I'm going to start off a little bit negative, but I do actually really like this supplement overall. The first thing I don't like is that there's no introduction here, and I think that every piece of content needs to have some kind of introduction. A lot of times when folks do player-focused supplements, they will have it from the perspective of a in-universe character, and maybe kind of borrowing from what Wizards did with, like, it's Xanathar's Guide to Everything, or Tasha's Cauldron to Everything, it's Dritz's Travelogue of Everything, and I've seen a lot of these from the DM's Guild, and then the introduction, kind of goes into that character, introducing like, oh, I wrote this, which is fine, but I don't even necessarily need all that, but I do need something that goes between the table of contents and the actual start of your content. For example, here it would be very, very helpful if you provided me a reminder about what Strixhaven is, for those of us that it's been a while, and for Lorehold specifically, because this book is, and I mentioned mini expansion, I believe, because there's 4 or 5, I don't even remember, shoot. I think there's 5 colleges in Strixhaven, and this only covers one of them, but it does a really cool deep dive into that college. But then, explain to me what Lorehold's all about. What are its, tenets isn't the right word, I'm thinking paladin, but, what are the main themes of this entire course of study, and maybe give me a reminder of who the faculty and the NPCs are, since you're, as the DM's Guild, you can use all that information. So I thought that was pretty jarring to have a lack of introduction to the content, and then also just tell me what this book is all about. Like, and you don't have to be it from like, oh, I designed this book because of this. I don't necessarily need that either. Just say, hey, this is we're going to go over some player supplements, and here's some content for Lorehold specifically based on here's these spells and feats, and they can be tied in here. Just something, either a page or half a page, but give me some kind of introduction. And then my other weak point is I think the actual new race is a really cool idea that is kind of boringly executed. And I'm using race because they used race. I don't know, again, what terminology we're landing on yet. Ancestry, lineage, species, etc. I feel like I have to do this, like the slashes, until we finally land on whatever the new terminology is. But going forward, I will probably use whatever terminology the supplement or the product that I'm reviewing uses. This is a stone-bound spirit. So as a reminder, Lorehold is the college that's all about looking at the past. They're studying ancient ruins. They're diving into, excavations. They're unearthing objects and things and studying them. It's all about learning from history, specifically ancient history. So this race is very thematic. It's basically kind of a classic old, I was going to say marble statue, but it could be actually anything. You can see there's a D8 table. You could be, I think, like, terracotta or bronze or ivory or something. And you're already have been maybe destroyed or something, and you're kind of reformed. You're essentially a spirit possessing a statue. And as you can see by the artwork, the pieces are kind of joined together by light energy. So you're kind of picture like Rayman or something from video games, where you're not quite interconnected throughout. That is all a really cool idea. It's very thematic. It looks cool. I love the artwork, the tables, all that is a thumbs up. The actual thumbs down for me is the abilities. The only thing is you kind of have like the construct thing a lot of constructs have, where you don't really sleep. You just kind of remain semi-conscious, I guess, when you still have to have like a downtime long rest, because otherwise the whole system falls apart, but you don't really have a sleep. You shed light for 10 feet, which is, okay, fine. And then you have a flying speed, which is problematic in a lot of ways, because a lot of DMs will just poo-poo flying speed right off the bat. But also, I don't think it necessarily fits what this race can be. I get that you're probably not like animating like a statue. You're kind of floating around, so that would make sense. But I think it's a missed opportunity to, instead of flight, what if you could, I was going to say discorporate? I don't know what the right term is. The Ranger Swarmkeeper can kind of do a thing higher level where they can turn into bugs and then move around like bugs. I was thinking maybe as a racial trait, you could crumble your statue. In other words, kind of turn off your ability to have it be fused together. And then you could, functionally like a gaseous form, I guess, get into places. Not like you could split your body around or do things, but or maybe, I don't know, you could go from there. But I think that would be a lot more interesting, for example, than just straight up flight. And maybe since you're a statue, some kind of AC bonus or something should be in there. So I think the mark of a cool race or class idea is that it gives me a lot of fun ideas, but then I get disappointed when the ones that are used here are just not very interesting. So thumbs up on the concept, but thumbs down on the actual execution or design of this race. Unfortunately, I think it was a missed opportunity. And by the way, because there's less content here than like the bigger books that I review, I can do more of a intimate deep dive into each of these. So the new class option, however, is nothing but thumbs up to me. This is the Wizard School of Archaeomancy, which their main thing is they've got this giant scroll that's the size of a quarterstaff that they record all of their information on. It's super magical and cool looking. By the way, a good starting point for an interesting subclass to me is to give it some kind of cool visual flair. Like, everybody likes the Fighter Battlemaster because there's cool mechanics there, but there's nothing like distinct about the Battlemaster versus say the rogue, was it Soul Knife or something, where you've got that Psylocke, like telekinetic sword thing, like that's awesome. Or the Druid Wildfire, we got this little fire spirit, like, and you can customize things from there. But if you give it kind of a signature look when the player is executing their cool ability, that's always really neat. And I like the idea of just carrying around this giant scroll. And then your ability is, of course, you're better at copying spells, you're better at using spell scrolls, and specifically you can basically cast any spell, as if you had that spell scroll once per day, and you always cast it at like, the lowest, level equal to or less than your proficiency bonus, right at second level. So you're just super good at casting, even like a wizard's already Mr. and Mrs. versatility, and you do even more now. At 14th level, you can actually do it equal to your proficiency bonus and not just once per day. And then at 6th level, you can gain charges to your scroll staff every time you cast a wizard spell, 1st level or higher, not cantrips. And then for every charge, you can then expend it, which I don't even know if there's a limit on charges, to deal radiant damage. Now, there is a little bit of an error here I have to point out. It says you basically fire like a laser beam of radiant energy in a 50-foot line. Creatures on the line must make a save against your spell save DC, taking 1d8 radiant damage for each expended charge. Did you notice the problem there? What kind of save am I making? It doesn't say. Is it a dex save because you're dodging out of the way? Is it a con save? So it's like blinding radiant light. I don't know. You need to tell me that because that's kind of important information. I think that's just a straight up error, but it is something to look for so you get those errors before they appear here in this review. At 10th level, you can then, as a reaction, add your spellcasting modifier as AC the next round, which is basically like having a shield spell once per day. I don't think you could, because what is a shield's +5? It's probably worse than shield when you're starting out, but eventually you'll get a +5. So extra shield, that's fine. But I just like the whole scroll thing. Like it works pretty well, and people who are really into spell scrolls, and that lets you just kind of go nuts with a lot of different spells. And I think it's very appropriate to somebody who's I like that they worked the scroll thing into a wizard subclass. I think that works very, very well. Super thumbs up for that. New spells and feats, all very appropriate to the College of Lorehold. I particularly like the Call the Past spell, which is basically Speak with the Dead, except it can also be used on an object, and you could then tie it to the person who made the object, the last person to use the object, maybe somebody the object was supposed to go to, or who owns the object. So that's pretty cool. True Certainty, by the way, gives you like super advantage or disadvantage. You can roll 3 dice and pick the highest roll. Double-edged sword allows you to force a creature, anytime it misses with an attack, it has to attack itself. However, the same can be tied to you, although hopefully with a wizard, maybe you're not making quite as many spell attacks. So it would probably work out pretty well in your favor. New backgrounds. Now, the Strixhaven backgrounds were very good because they added spells, which is just grossly better than every other background from the player's handbook. That's the real feature creep when it comes to 5th edition, is that all these future backgrounds are just, for the most part, way, way, way better. And the same is true here, and it adds the same spells. You can either be an assistant initiate or a librarian initiate. New magic items are designed, of course, for the wizard, giving you advantage on spell scrolls or allowing you to ignore the verbal component to casting spells. Now, Lorehold courses. This is something that Strixhaven added, which was, hey, you're going to a university, then you're going to be taking courses and then have exams. I don't quite remember the specific mechanics. I don't remember it being very interesting or impressive, and the fact that I can't really remember the mechanics is itself kind of an indictment. These ones, however, are very, very interesting. There are 4 offered here, as well as one that's kind of an off-campus field work, I guess. And they all, first of all, they're all obviously very highly thematic to Lorehold. You're studying ancient languages, you're studying ancient warfare or ancient storytelling. They give you their own little teacher or a professor who's teaching them, which, by the way, those are NPCs are provided at the end of this supplement. And then you get a studying phase where you get to make a skill check, which then, depending on their skill check, gives you a bonus on the exam phase, which also involves making a certain skill check. And then once you complete the exam, then you are allowed to gain the advancement reward, which is a actual like buff. Like you maybe gain a bonus to, history skill checks, or you gain a new ancient language or something. So I thought that was really cool. And there's a ton of detail put into these courses. It's actually probably one of the best parts of this book, even though anything, if you're using this supplement as just for like new spells and like subclass and race and stuff, then the courses, in other words, you're kind of divorcing this from Strixhaven. This is probably the least useful part for you, but I would say do not ignore this. Like, it's actually really good content. There's a huge tables worth of all of the different things you could study and provide to your players. It's honestly just a way better version of what you get from the actual Strixhaven Curriculum of Chaos book, and it's only specifically for Lorehold. Presumably, we'll be getting other ones. I checked the DM's Guild just recently, and I know there's now this whole version of this supplement for, I believe it's the Prismari School. So hopefully we'll get more of all of those, but you can probably extrapolate this review towards all of those, assuming we're getting the same level of good quality. So I really, really love these courses, even though it's not something that I wouldn't necessarily use because I'm probably not using Strixhaven anytime soon. But if you are, this is honestly, I think you're not going to get better than diving into this detailed level of having these cool courses and exams to be able to take. And then finally some NPCs, which again, I am very jealous that the designer is able to produce not only some, well-written detailed NPCs, but also a cool original artwork, which always is a huge thumbs up when you're adding, NPCs. That really helps bring them to life in a big way. There's 3 faculty members and 3 new students. Look at this professors. She's got all these scrolls in front of it. I love it. And they're all like matching uniforms. Oh, that's fantastic. Really, really good stuff. All right, let's go over my pros and cons for Strixhaven Student Prospectus. Pro, lots of useful new content for spellcasters, including spells, feats, backgrounds, and magic items. Obviously, this is Strixhaven, so you have to expect spellcaster content and specifically wizard content, and that's absolutely what it delivers. Pro, new Lorehold courses and exams are a big improvement over the actual book that this is kind of expanding from. I think the designer said, you know what, I can do courses and exams, but I can do them a lot better and a lot more interesting. I would love to see how they do it for all the different schools, but especially if you're interested in what Strixhaven has to offer, this one I think expands it in all the right ways. And also, I kind of glossed over like extracurriculars are there, the NPCs are there. It does add like basically everything that Strixhaven has. Pro, the School of Archaeomancy is a fun thematic wizard subclass. I love the whole spell scroll thing that it doubles down on, and I love the visualization of having this giant spell scroll that you're walking around in. And Pro, 6 detailed NPCs, all with original character art. Honestly, the layout and art design throughout the book is really quite good, but I particularly love that we get the original art for the NPCs as well. I do have some cons and criticisms, if you recall, way from the beginning of this review, that it lacks any kind of introduction. I really think that's a bummer because it's just awkward to go straight from your credits, table of contents, and then into your first thing. Just give me, it could be a couple paragraphs or something, but especially as a helpful reintroduction to what Lorehold is and establish that theme. I had to go back to my Strixhaven review and remember, okay, which one is Lorehold? Like, what is that all about? Obviously, I could have figured out that from context clues from this supplement, but I shouldn't have to do that. Give me that introduction, that introductory piece would have been very helpful. And then I think that the Stonebound Spirit, while it's a neat idea, is just kind of ends up being poorly executed and just a bunch of boring traits that are not very interesting. And frankly, we've seen them all elsewhere already. So it's a real missed opportunity to make this a very unique race option from a mechanical viewpoint. Final verdict, with a densely packed trove of highly thematic player-facing content, Strixhaven Student Prospectus Lorehold is the perfect mini expansion to the curriculum of chaos. I really wanted to say like unearthed, because, Lorehold and ancient relics and things, but then we got Unearthed Arcana, so I thought that might be a little too much. Thank you to everyone for watching this video review. You can see my written review at roguewatson.com. You can watch more reviews and follow our own D&D adventures here on my YouTube channel and support my work at patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shoutouts to Platinum patrons: Joe, Will, Thomas, Stan, Brandon, Genocider, David, Eclectic, Roleplay, Roll, Christopher, Brian, William, Corey, Koa, 1337, Big Nut, John, Chris, Scott, Gene, Eric, Dan, Tyler, Nathan, Camp, Crystal Lake, Counselor, Big Shep, Andrew, Daryl, the Reldoran, and Matt. And gold patrons: RPG, Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Marcus, Deathers, Lounge, Sam, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Nathan, Fazaga, Tortoise, Scott, Ruffus, Carolyn, and William. Thank you all very much for your support.